Hi, this is Jessica. For my site visit, I went to SUNY New Paltz through their disaster program. I sat in a program called Psychological First Aid with Carla Rumwellen. I was told that this is a newly online class. It was not originally, and this is due to the COVID 19 pandemic that we're in. The professor also made sure to let me know that that these were also her students' first time, most likely doing an online course. So everything was new. I was sitting there with I was muted and without my video on, as to not be a distraction to the students. So what worked well? What worked well was her PowerPoint presentation. I feel like that was a very beautiful. It was a very beautiful thing. It was right there on the screen. It was easy to go through. If I wanted to take notes, I felt like I could take notes. If this was something that she had provided via Blackboard, and then I had an opportunity to print this out beforehand, I thought that was great. I do think even having the plain background was good. I wasn't distracted by her background, other than to say that it was plain and green. Maybe if it was a little bit designed, but still kind of, because people. I guess I'm somebody that wants something interesting to look at. So those are the things that went well. I think she showed a video towards the end of the class as a way to kind of assess what the students had learned. I think that went really well, and and their participation at the end was really high. Did anything not work well? Sure. The participation was not necessarily there throughout the course. It might have been that way even if it was in like a face-to-face class. It's very possible. These were freshmen. But it seemed that there was like one student who was very vocal, by typing a lot, and then two others who typed at some point. And then I kept wondering, is this going to be the only way that they can communicate? Can they unmute? I think that might be easier, to find a way to raise their hand. This was done through a WebEx. I don't know if WebEx has a raise hand option, but Google Meets does, like, have some kind of way where you can, let the presenter know that you want to speak before, actually saying something. So that was something that I thought, this is something I would change. And the professor even said in the end, I wonder how this is going to work out, because she had asked the entire class a question. Toward the end, because they were talking about something very weighty, she showed a photograph of her cat, and then you could see lots of participation. Then almost the entire class participated, whereas before I was seeing maybe like 6 or 7 students. And it's very likely that in a face-to-face, maybe, for freshmen, maybe only 6 or 7 students would participate. I'm not sure. What did I learn from the experience? I learned all about psychological first aid. I learned about, having that non-judgmental thing going on, making sure that you're saying facts to people, and that you might want to shy away from comments like, it's all going to work out, everything's going to be fine, you're going to do well. We say these things to our friends and family all the time, but in a professional setting, if you were like a social worker or a counselor and somebody's going through a traumatic event or something that's, really weighty for them, you might not want to say, something like, everything's going to work out, everything's going to be just fine. How do you know? And they don't know. So sticking to kind of like the facts, being hopeful without potentially lying. So that's what I learned from the experience. It was a really cool class.